Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Techgig webinar series. The topic for today's session is Service-Oriented Architecture Administration. And we have with us today Mr. Paras Wasson. He is the Senior Consultant at National Computer Systems, Singapore. Paras has 8 years of progressive experience in IT, working on Oracle Fusion Middleware products like Oracle SOA, WebLogic, IDM, UCM, WCI, ESB, etc. Database and multiple other technologies on various platforms such as Linux, HPUX, Solaris, and Windows. He has experience in installation, upgradation, administration, maintenance, and troubleshooting Oracle SOA Suite 11G, including SOA components, BAM, ESB, SCA, etc. He also have knowledge for WLST and scripting. He handles all the administration tasks such as day-to-day activity installation, configuration, clustering, deploying applications, troubleshooting, performance tuning, and maintenance of WebLogic server. Extensive working experience in setting up multiple domains, including administration servers, managed servers, machines, node managers in different cluster environments. Paras today is joining in from Singapore, and I would like to thank him for taking time out today, and in spite of having the time difference, joining in today for the webinar. This is a request to all the attendees to send in the questions from 5:30 onwards, 5:30 p.m. IST onwards. We will be taking up questions during the last 15 minutes of today's session. Also, if there is any problem in terms of connection or audio in between, please feel free to drop me a message using the chat window, and I'll be glad to help. So, without any further delay, I'll now hand over the session to Paras. Paras, over to you. I'm going to give you the presenters right now.
All right. Thanks, Shilagna. Hi, guys. Paras here, and first of all, very good evening to all of you, and thanks for joining the session. Okay, so just a small thing. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes. Yes, Paras.
Okay. All right. Okay. Great. So here we'll be talking about the Fusion Middleware applications. One second. All right. So we are here to talk about the Fusion Middleware. What is Fusion Middleware? What is the need in today's world, and how we install it, and what are the components? And specifically in middleware, we will be talking about SOA, which is service-oriented architecture. We have a lot of other products that we'll be talking about, but most part will be covered from SOA. So first, to let you know what is SOA and what is the need, what is the business need in today's enterprise world, because as we know, in this competitive world, as the competition is increasing, the competition is increasing.
Paras,
so we need new software.
Paras, I'm sorry to interrupt. Just a quick request, if you could keep your mouthpiece very close, otherwise your voice is breaking up in between.
All right, no problem. All right, so we'll be talking about SOA and Fusion Middleware, and what is the need in today's world, and what all are these products. Okay, so as we know, in this today's competitive world, lot of lot of competition is there, and we need some tools, like we are using multiple softwares, and there is a need to integrate all those software like SAP, SAP, Siebel, PeopleSoft, and all those products. We need data from one end to another. Okay, we need these software in order to we need this software to and fro, and for this Oracle SOA is designed with the service-oriented architecture. SOA is basically the concept and not the software. It is the concept. is a collection of standards, software-based products, and SOA. One second. Okay, service-oriented architecture is a concept wherein we define there are different services in different domains, and that can be used as to integrate the softwares. Okay, so SOA in short is concept of organizing and utilizing distributed capabilities that may be under the control of different ownership and the domains under different platforms, and it can be under different owners. Okay, so the need of SOA is to integrate all those softwares or all those services or all those business rules, all those service engines that can be under different ownership. We need to integrate. We can integrate it with SOA concept, and we can get the desired result as per the business needs. So the advantages of SOA, which says is just simplicity, as shown here, is these are the advantages of SOA. Okay. Okay, so advantages of SOA are simpler systems. It helps to become the simpler systems, lowering maintenance costs, enhancing architecture flexibility, lowering integration costs, reusability of the services, application flexibility. All these are the advantages of SOA, and these are the examples of SOA. So if you go about the structure of SOA, you can see on my screen there are many services, messaging services, activity monitoring, business tools, and all these things. These are the components of SOA. Okay, so SOA is just a part of Fusion Middleware. Apart from these all products, we have identity management, which is known as IDM, in which we have Oracle Internet Directory or Oracle Virtual Directory. We have UCM, that is the content management. IDM is just for the identity management, like it is used in the banking systems, wherein we have the critical data and the identity for the authorization and authentication are used. Okay, we have several other like WCI, that is the web center interface. Okay, these components are a part of Fusion Middleware. These components are a part of Fusion Middleware. Sri Lanka? Okay, yeah, now it's okay. All right, so we go forward, and these are the prerequisites that we, in order to complete the course.
Paris, I'm sorry again to interrupt. Your voice is actually not coming that clear. It's fluctuating, and I'm getting a lot of feedback from our attendees that they are not being able to hear you clearly. So if you could keep the handset or hands-free, whatever you're using, very close while talking.
Okay. Okay. Let me just try that once again. All right. So talking about SOA, what are the prerequisites? Who can use this software, or who can use this software, and who has the working knowledge of WebLogic server, who has the knowledge of SOA concepts and the basic skills of an administrator. We go to the next slide. It says Introduction to SOA and Oracle Suite 11G. These are the components that are used in SOA. We start with B2B, that is business to business. We have business process management. We have BAM, which is business activity monitoring, human task, people, and a lot of other components are there, which are used in SOA. But it is not necessary every time we use all these components. It is as per the business needs. Whatever components or whatever software or whatever services are required, we only go ahead and deploy those components, and the rest of them, if we don't want to use it, it's okay with us. It is as simple as that. Now, installing Oracle SOA Suite 11G, these are the steps and for installing Oracle SOA Suite 11G. Okay, first the basic thing is we need to have the OS maybe the Windows or maybe the Unix or Linux or HPUX, any of the any OS should be there, and OS should be installed on that on the machine. Okay. So talking about the software part now, from the middle tire, it says okay, we have to install an database. In this case, since it is Oracle Suite, we can install any database, but in this case, we are using an Oracle database. Okay. When we have installed and configured the Oracle database, we make sure all the services are running fine and the listener is up and running. We install the WebLogic server. These are the steps. Maybe I can guide you through another guide which shows the detailed plan how to install all these softwares and all about that. Okay, I'll show you that document after this slide. Okay, so install WebLogic software after the database is installed. Okay, now install the Oracle schemas with RCU. You might wonder what is RCU. RCU is the utility wherein we install or we create schemas in the database related to SOA. Okay, we have certain schemas like a schema for BAM, business activity monitoring. We have schema for SOA infra. We have schema for MDS, which is metadata services, and we have a lot of other schemas. Similarly, we have schemas for other components, like let's say, for example, is identity management. We have schemas for those. Okay, and we need to create those schemas in the database, and RCU is the utility with the help of which we can create a schema in the database. Okay, so as soon as we are ready with this with creating a schemas, okay, we need to install Oracle SOA Suite. Oracle SOA Suite, the two patch is given. Maybe if you want, you can install one, but PS2 is the latest one. Okay, after installing this Oracle SOA Suite, we need to create and configure the domain and create the managed servers. Okay, so now I will be guiding you through the steps, what all are required for the installation. Okay, so we go down. Okay, here is the installer. We assume that the database has already been installed. This is the installer for WebLogic. We go ahead and install the WebLogic. These are the screens which we see here. It will come up on this during the installation. Okay. Okay, this is the second part. It says middleware home directory. Okay, we need to specify that as well. Here is the installation whether we need to do typical or a custom installation. Okay, this is the installation directory. What we need to install, and I mean what is the WebLogic home or what is the current home and these things. Okay, then we go to the next screen. This is the final screen, wherein the WebLogic would be installed fully. Okay, this is the last step where now the WebLogic has been installed. It says installation is complete. Here it is. Okay, now after installing this WebLogic, we need to go and install RCU, which is a repository creation utility. As I already told you, after database and installing WebLogic, we can create the schemas. So from here, we can just create the schemas in the database. So all these softwares are downloaded, can be downloaded from the Oracle website. These are free. We can just download all these softwares, and we can just install all. Just trial versions are available on the Oracle website. Okay. So for us, you also can download it as per whatever OS we are using, be it Windows, be it Linux, or be it anyone. Okay. So we go to the next screen. It says as create or drop schemas. Okay, whether we want to create it or drop it, this is just the create schema. Now we connect to the database from here in order to create the schemas. Okay, this is now creating the schemas in the database. Okay, this is the final a step wherein it is checking the prerequisite, and after that it would be installing the schemas. Okay. See, this screen is very important in terms of installing the schemas and select all services. We need to, you see that there is a metadata services that is checked here, and the SOA and the BPM structure. We can select what all schemas we need to create in the database, and from here we can select even for other Fusion middleware product like IDM or UCM and all other products. Okay. So now it says installing here. These password need to be the database schema password, and final step is the schemas have been created with the table name, the schema owners, and everything. The whole information is here. Okay. When these are this RCU is done, that means all the schemas are created. We go to the next step, which is installing Oracle SOA suite. Okay. Okay. Now, so this is how we are installing Oracle SOA suite. Just download the package over here and run the install command, and guide us to the installation process. It's checking the basic prerequisite memory and all those things. Then it is specifying the location for the middleware home, SOA home, and all these things it will pass. Okay. One more important point over here is we can install Fusion middleware only when we have WebLogic or WebSphere or some application server installed on the server. Okay. So without installing any application server, we will not be able to install any of the Fusion middleware products. So in this case, we are choosing WebLogic server over here. We need to give the application WebLogic home here, and the final screen where it will give it the information, what is the middleware home, what is the SOA home, what all other things, and disk space and application things, what all have been installed. You might notice application Beeper and Mediator and Rule and all these things are installed here. This is now gets completed. You can see on my screen now. So now we will be talking about we have actually installed all the softwares. We will be talking about creating a domain now. Okay, we can create a domain using a domain wizard. Okay, and here is the wizard you can see on my screen, and here is the wizard. Okay, so this is the main screen where we select what all components we need to install. We need to configure and put it in a domain. Like for example, we in the screen that is in the screen it says Oracle SOA suite for developers. It says Oracle Service Bus for developers. It says Oracle OWSM Oracle WSM Policy Manager. It says it can be anything. What all components we need to configure, we can select over here. We install that would be configured as a domain. If we go to the next step, we need to create the domain name and give the password and all those things we need to provide. Okay, and the domain would be created. This is how the domain would be created. In the domain creation, we need to give the schema username and the password name and the password which you created in the RCU, and this is how we create a domain. Now we go back to the PPT. All right, so we were here and we're discussing about the installation, what we just now discussed. So now we will be discussing about other products and other directory structures and enterprise monitor and all those things. So here it is. Here is the directory structure for SOA. Here is the Oracle middleware home. This is the WebLogic server home, and the directory structure. Okay, so before proceeding it to the next screen, we have something known as a composite. Okay, a composite application is an archive, is known as a SOA archive, wherein all the code that the developer creates, be it people or all those things that the code are there, it is there in the archive, and we go ahead and deploy using a JDeveloper. We can use Enterprise Monitor, or there are different ways to deploy as well. One of them is AND scripting and WLST. So like we have a WAR file or a ER file in WebLogic or any application server, here we have a SAR file, which is the composite archive or the SOA archive, which we deploy in SOA in order to give the desired result. Maybe it contains all the classes, it contains all the components, whatever we want to deploy, and we can create an archive, and we will see in the next slide how we are able to deploy in the in SOA environment. Okay, so here is deploying with Enterprise Manager. Okay, these are the steps. You can see, say, Oracle Enterprise Manager, and this is how we go about SOA deployment, and this is how we go ahead and deploy using with the Oracle Enterprise Manager. Now we go to the next screen. It says SOA infrastructure lifecycle. Okay, the lifecycle is just how the SOA, if we start any SOA application or any managed server for SOA, how it start and what all configuration it will read, how it will configure. It says read SOA infra configuration, then it will start the basic services, then it will start the engines and the binding components, then it will access the MDS, which is the metadata services, and metadata services are stored in a database. Then it goes to a tag composite to the corresponding service engines and so on. Now here it is started, and it will wait for the incoming request and all those things. All right, so now the next component is adapter services. Okay, in order to integrate SOA with PeopleSoft or external world, maybe PeopleSoft, SAP, Siebel, or any other software, or maybe mainframe, this has to be something in between SOA and in that matter we talk about PeopleSoft or SAP. There has to be something in between in order to have a proper communication in between. Okay, so there is something known as adapter services. Okay, we create an adapter giving the properties of SOA and the SAP or any external software. Okay, when we create this adapter services using a JDeveloper, we go ahead and deploy this in, like we deployed the SOA archive. We deploy the same from the WebLogic or the Enterprise Monitor console, and we will be able to successfully integrate SOA with the external world. It can be anything. It can be mainframe, it can be SAP, it can be PeopleSoft, it can be anything. So now we talk about Oracle Mediator service components and service engines. Mediator components are something that comes in joining two or more services. Like as I said, okay, Oracle SOA is interconnection of loosely coupled services, which can be under different domains, which can be under different ownership. Okay, so these Mediator components and service engine, these are the binding components between two or more services which are used in order to integrate the components that are there in SOA. Okay, so this is just the internal binding, and binding from the external world is done using an adapter. Now we go to the next screen, which is user messaging system. User messaging system is also inbuilt in SOA. If there is a need to install and configure user messaging services, we can configure it. If we don't need, we can just leave it. Okay, so user messaging system is just the queuing system like we have for IBM. We have MQ, and in WebLogic also we have JMA. This is just the Oracle user messaging system, and we have a schema also that is created using an RCU in the database. So this is just a messaging system wherein we can configure a messaging system, the queuing system like we have in MQ series and the JMS. Okay. Now we talk about human task, service components, and workflow. Human task is something that is an automated process, and it requires human intervention. Like if you talk about in this IT world, okay, we apply for, let's explain. Let me explain this with an example. If we apply for a leave, it will go to our boss, and whether it is approved or not approved, these things are done by the human task service component, and this is the workflow service. I mean, it is the automated process, but it requires the human intervention, whether it says yes or no, and many other things we can configure as per the business. So it is just the human task service components, and this is the workflow. If it is required, we can just configure in SOA and we can use it. Okay. Oracle BAM. This is business activity monitoring. This is very much important in terms of when we have to monitor how many hits that we get in the server, and this is just for the analysis, or we have the performance metrics wherein we need the data, or we need the records, how many hits came on the website, or we need those hits in the form of graphs, or in the form of pie charts, or in the form of any other form we need. For that, we can install an Oracle BAM, which is business activity monitoring. Okay, we can configure the same using when you're creating a domain, we can just check this Oracle BAM, and it will be definitely installed in the domain. So these are the components of BAM components. And you see an active viewer, Visual Studio Architect, and admin. These are the roles. We can just log in and just see and administer or configure as per what is the business need. Okay. Now it comes to tuning Oracle Suite and components. There are several parameters that can be tuned, because tuning is obviously required in any of the software or any of the services that we use in order to get the desired result. The tuning can be done at several levels, like the hardware resources, operating system, JVMs, and SOA infra, the service engine, composite instance, database, and the logging level. So tuning is required just to tune the environment in order to give the best result of the service or the engine or the software or the database or the operating system. Okay, now we talk about configuring the high availability for Oracle Soup. This is the three-tier diagram, which says the web tier, the application tier, and the database tier. Okay, in this we configure the high availability. High availability means the application or the software or any website should be available to the customer, highly available to the customer. So for that, we make use of cluster. Like in the application tier, it says, okay, SOA infra, we make it as cluster. We have one admin server, and we have app host 1 and app host 2. We put it in a cluster in order to just get the high availability of Oracle source. Okay, the same thing we can do it in the web tier. We can use 2 or more web servers. We can use and rack in the database in order that to give the high availability for these softwares. Okay, talk about now backup and recovery options, because this backup and recovery is required in case of any failure. We need to back up our data or the configuration file, and we can do it simply taking a backup, and we can take a backup, and you can configure a backup on the SOA machine. It will take a backup, a weekly backup or monthly backup or depends on the business needs. Whatever you can any backup, like for daily or monthly or weekly, you can just configure it as per the needs. So Sri Lanka, sorry.
Yes, Paras, tell me.
Hello, that is it. Yeah, from my side, I have only this thing from the Oracle SOA. If you have anything, I mean.
Right. Give me just a minute. In the meanwhile, I'll try to send across some questions which I have received, and request all the attendees to now start sending questions. Paras, you will find two questions in your questions window. Request you to take them up, please.
Okay.
I'll be assigning more as I receive them.
Okay, we have a question. It says how to integrate SOA with WebLogic. Okay, and the asker is Ganapati Rajamani. Okay, so to answer this question is WebLogic is a part of Oracle or Oracle Fusion Middleware, and SOA is also a part of a Fusion Middleware. Okay, so the integration in that matter, there is no such integration between WebLogic and SOA, because SOA, service-oriented architecture, in that matter, any Fusion Middleware product can only be installed when WebLogic is installed on the operating system or any system. Okay, so so the integration, I mean, in terms of WebLogic is and SOA, we cannot we can integrate it using installing just the WebLogic and SOA like we did in installation. This is how we can integrate SOA with WebLogic. So there is one more question which says, what is the core requirement ratio between the web server, application server, DB server in a typical installation with this stack? So there, as in, if we talk about the basic need of how much RAM and all those things, I can show you here as well. Okay. Okay, so we require a minimum of 3 gigs of RAM. This is the memory and the disk requirement, as you can see on the screen. If you need an Oracle Service Bus, we can add 1.2 gigs of disk space more. Okay, so talking about the software and the installation, where we can get it is we can get it from the Oracle website, and one second. These are the software installation exact files, actually, what we need and what all JDK we need. If you want this guide, what I'm using can be downloaded from the website. Okay. Okay, it says the next question, sorry. It says, is BAM monitoring the server health? Is it for the use of sysadmins only? Okay. The asker is Subhamani Chakrabarti. To answer this question is, BAM is the business activity monitoring, in which we monitor the data from not only from the sysadmin perspective, we can monitor the data from the outside world. So, for example, if you have a website, google.com, how many hits we are getting on Google every day or every minute or every week, these kind of things, and how much is it hitting, hits we are getting on any particular section, or how much in that matter, if we talk about yahoo.com, okay, how many logins are there per week or per any hour or like that. So to repeat your question, is BAM is only used for the system health or sysadmin? The answer would rather be no. It can be used as to analyze and analyze the monitoring from the external world as well. Okay, it says, the next question is from Gaurav Mishra. How the Beeple configuration is done in SOA Fusion Middleware environment? Is it done in WebLogic or some other tool? Okay, the configuration for Beeple is the configuration part. One is the configuration part and other is the creation part. Okay, integration of Beeple with any other component or services in that matter is OSD or Mediator and adapters. So the configuration can be done from the enterprise monitor console. What all what all things can be configured. I can show this on the slide as well. Okay, here is it. So these are the Beeple properties. From service engines, we select to Beeple properties. From the SOA infra, we select the service engine, we select the Beeple properties. Like we see the BPN and service engine properties, we can configure it as per the need, the same as Beeple properties, or in that matter to a mediator or to an adapter or to any services. Okay. But in order to integrate the Beeple with any adapter or any other services or any other component, we have to use a JDeveloper tool in order to integrate it, and we need to deploy that archive into WebLogic or SOA. Okay. We go to the next question now. The question is, can we use SOA directly for analyzing the existing data available to us? Existing data in terms of, I mean, what all data is there in a database, or whatever data is we are getting the hits, the analysis can be done using an BAM, business activity monitoring. Okay, so whatsoever data, when we have configured the BAM, the business activity monitoring, from now it will, the metrics, it will, when we have configured the BAM, it will capture data, how many hits, and how, it will analyze the data from when we have installed BAM. So it says analyzing the existing data. That means whatever data is there in the database, or whatever hits the customer is getting, or whatever hits are there in the application server or the server or any server, we can, yes, analyze the data, but provided we should have a BAM configured, installed and configured in SOA. Okay, go next question. Okay. The question is, the asker is Shiva Kumar Nolaka. It says, is Oracle database only supported, or can we use any open system database, or how to configure that database? Okay. Here it's Oracle, all the Oracle products are so flexible. We can use any kind of database. In this case, we have used Oracle database, but we can use any database that we want. It can be anything. It can be XE database with a Windows system. It can be a point base. It can be AIX. It can be any database. The thing is, the configuration, the installation process is different for Oracle database and other database. Okay, but we should have the database services in which we have database up and running, and the network service should be available. So when we create an RCU, or when we connect from WebLogic to database or SOA from database, the service should be available. We should be able to create the schemas in the database. Okay. So to answer this question, is Oracle database supported only for SOA supported for only Oracle database? I would rather say no, because we can use any of the database provided the database services are available. Now we go to the next question. It says, what is the difference between SOA and Fusion Middleware? Okay. SOA is the service-oriented architecture. As I've already told you, that this is the concept in which we can integrate different services, different service engines, different processes, different softwares, which can be under the ownership of different domains. This is just the integration concept wherein we can integrate all those services or processes or adapters and all these things. Fusion Middleware is the software wherein SOA is a small part of Fusion Middleware. We have other products as well, like identity management and content management. These are also a part of Fusion Middleware. So to answer your question is the exact difference between SOA and Fusion Middleware is SOA is a part of Fusion Middleware, and SOA is a concept wherein we can integrate different services or processes, and Fusion Middleware is just a process, is a software, or we have different components in that software. Okay. Looking for the next question once again. One question is asked by Devesh Singh. It says, in today's time, when REST-based services are taking over as they are lightweight, how efficient SOA-based services are services for integration? So, as the basic concept is to integrate all these services or components, it's very easy. It's very easy to integrate all those components. It's not like that we go into the market and purchase the SOA and WebLogic and get it working. We need to work on the integration of different services, different processes, and adapters. We need to integrate it. We need to deploy into SOA. Then only it's going to work. So to answer the question, it says, in today's time, when REST-based services are taking over, are they lightweight? Yes, they are very lightweight and they are very flexible, and each service can be used multiple times at different places under different domains. Okay. Now we go to next question. It says, what are the different components of Fusion Middleware? We have different softwares, like we have different components like SOA. We have different components like BPEL, BPEL, OSD. We have adapters. We have mediators. In identity management, we have OID, which is Oracle Internet Directory. Other thing we have is Oracle Virtual Directory, Oracle OVD. Yeah, these are the parts of these softwares for Fusion Middleware. So we're looking for the next question is, when we are compared to apps, Oracle, to SOA, how we understand. It's asked by Kishore Kosuri. Okay, the question, it says when we are compared to apps, Oracle to SOA, what we understand. I mean, in SOA, we have apps, as in we have in WebLogic, we have simple application we can create it. The only difference in WebLogic and SOA here is we can customize the view, like we have many other services which are ready to use. The only thing is we need to integrate it and configure it as per the business need. Okay, in WebLogic we have small set of services. In SOA we have huge number of services, and we can integrate it, we can reuse it, and these services are very adapted to integrate with inside with the services or with any of the component inside SOA, but it is very adaptive to integrate with the outside world. Okay. So to repeat the question is, when we are compared to apps, Oracle to SOA, what do we understand? What I understand from this question is what are the apps in SOA? Okay, that's what I understand from this question. So to answer this question is, we have a lot of services and a lot of processes that can be integrated and that can be configured. So these apps, what we call in WebLogic as managed servers or apps, in that terms we call it as deployments or deployment apps. So there we have WAR file and ER file. Here we have the SOA archive or the composite archive, where we can deploy those composites into SOA. However, we can deploy the WAR file and ER file also in SOA. So look for the next question now. Okay, one question is asked by Veerbhadra Rao. It says, what are the prerequisites to learn Oracle SOA? Okay, prerequisites, as I said, is first thing is the basic understanding of an application server. If you talk about Oracle, we are using WebLogic. So the basic understanding how it works and how to configure, how to install, the basic understanding of WebLogic should be there. Apart from that, a little knowledge of database should be there. What all schemas are there? How we create the schemas and what information is stored in the schema. Okay. Then these are the basic prerequisites we should at least know in order to use SOA. But we can download it from internet. We can download it on our laptop as well or any machine, and we can start using it slowly. We can just learn this SOA as well. Okay. So in order to answer the question, what is the prerequisites to learn is, first thing is the basic understanding of WebLogic or any application server. Other thing is basic knowledge of our database. Okay, these are the prerequisites, and the installation and the configuration of all these softwares. Now we go to the next question. Okay. One question is, can a SOA application be deployed on any server other than WebLogic? Yes, it can be deployed on any of the server as shown in the installation process. It can be any other application server. It can be a web server, WebSphere as well. Okay, so it's not necessary it is WebLogic. We can use this SOA with WebSphere as well. So the answer to the question is, can a SOA application to be deployed on any other server other than WebLogic? The answer is yes, but in order to deploy an SOA application, we have to install the other application server, which is WebSphere, and install SOA on top of WebSphere and configure the domain. Then only we can install or we can deploy any SOA application. Okay. One question is by Ashish saying, it says, can we use MySQL DB with SOA? Yes, we can use MySQL DB with SOA. The only fact is, I have already told that the database should be there, the services should be running, it should be installed properly, it should be configured properly, okay, and the services should be running in order to just meet the basic database needs. Okay, we can create the schemas, we can connect to the database. In that matter, it can be Oracle database, it can be MySQL, it can be anything. So to answer the question, can we use a MySQL DB with SOA? The answer is yes, it can be used. Then again, the question is, can we use MongoDB with SOA? The answer is yes. One question is asked by Kishore Kasuri, which says, what is the nature of work when compared to apps DBA and SOA admin? So apps DBA is just to answer the question, apps DBA is just a DBA, okay, wherein we have to take care of the database plus some middleware part that is integrated in the apps DBA. Where SOA admin also consists of a little bit of DBA tasks and majorly on the middleware part, okay. So apps DBA can also work as a SOA admin. I mean, it's very easy for an apps DBA, because apps DBA is something in which the database and the middleware both parts are integrated inside that. We can use both of them, okay. And in SOA admin, we have to create the schemas in the database. In that matter, it can be any database, and the SOA services we can just use as a middleware components and services. So we go to the next question now. Okay. One question is by Ganapati Rajamani, just how configuration done with BPM suite. To answer this question, I will show you one slide. Okay. So the installation since the starting is DB, then WebLogic, then RCU, then installing SOA. Now, taking care of the BPM part is the first two check marks you have to do, whether you want it for developers or not. If you want any configuration for any of the component, it would be definitely installed with the SOA. But it's up to you whether you want to configure it and whether you want to use it in the domain. And if that is required, we can check mark here, and it would be there in the domain. Okay, so to answer the question is how BPM can be used. BPM, after installing the SOA, we can just create a domain, and in creating a domain, we can check mark this option as BPM, and when we it would be configured while creating the managed server. It would be the configuration would be there while in the managed servers. So we can use BPM up from there. Now for the next question. Okay. Sridharna?
Yes, Paris. I think you have taken almost all the questions that I had assigned.
So, any more questions you have? Otherwise, we can just wind up this session.
I think one last question which just came in. I'm just going to share that with you.
Okay.
It's from Darshan VS.
Apart, yeah. It says apart from things required, is anything else is there for SOA? I mean, to answer this question, SOA is a very huge thing in terms of installation and configuration. We have a lot of services, and this is just a small presentation about what is SOA and how we can integrate it and how we can install and configure it. So talking about the question, apart from the things required, is anything else is there for SOA? Means there are a lot of other services that we haven't even configured or integrate. In that matter, we have integrated, or we haven't. We are not able to cover here due to the time availability. Okay, and these there are many other things that can be used and that can be integrated, that can be installed in SOA. So this is just a small part. Okay.
Since we still have 4 minutes, let me send you one last question.
No, not at all.
The question is from Mona Kumari. I have just shared the same.
Okay. It says how to integrate SOA with Salesforce. Do you recommend to use web service? I mean, how to make data reliable? Okay. So I've already told you that SOA is SOA. It's very easy to integrate it to the external world. Like I told you, it can be integrated with SAP, PeopleSoft, system mainframe, or in here we can use as a Salesforce. It can be used as a web service as well. Okay. So, but before using it as a web service, we need to go to the JDeveloper and integrate those services using a JDeveloper tool and using an adapter service. Then deploying that adapter service in SOA, then only it's going to work. Okay. So while creating an adapter service or while integrating it, we need to give the properties or the server names and all those details for the Salesforce and for the integrating components in SOA like Beeple or any Mediator services. And when we make sure we have a connection, the integration connection between SOA and the Salesforce or any other environment or any other product, okay, we can integrate it, and we have a communication by integrating it by putting from the JDeveloper tool. And it says, I repeat the question, how to integrate SOA with Salesforce. To answer this question, we can use a JDeveloper tool in order to integrate SOA with Salesforce. I can create an adapter service and we can deploy the adapter service into SOA. That should work, I think. Okay. Next question is, how SOA software capable of mobile apps and website? Okay. To answer this question is, if we are using any app in the phone or at the back end, we are using WebLogic or any application server, so it hardly matters if we have installed any application server, or it hardly matters what are we using at the back end. The difference is few things that may be in the development or somewhere in the code that can be accessible from the mobile phone, or it can be accessible from the website. Okay, so the only difference, there is no difference in the installation, there is no difference in creating a domain or configuring it, there is no difference in deploying. The only difference that it would be in web and mobile, it would be in the code or few settings that it can work on the mobile or it can work on the web. That's how it is. Shalagna, any more questions?
No, Paras, I think that will be all. And I would request the attendees today to probably share the questions, if they have any, with us offline on our discussion forum on techgig.com. And Paras, you can also log in and probably post your answers on the discussion forum itself.
Yeah, maybe if they have any questions, they can connect to me on the portal and they can ask me. I'm just ready to help them out.
Absolutely. All of you guys can write to us directly in case if you're facing difficulty in posting the questions on the forum, and we will certainly share the same queries with Paris. I would like to take this opportunity to thank Paris once again for this presentation and answering so many questions. And we hope that this session was useful, and we would want to have similar sessions with Paris again in near future. And thanks everyone for your support and making this webinar a success.
Thank you. Thanks all. Thanks, Ivanna.
Thank
Thanks for your
you.
time.
Thank you.